Thank you for watching this MORK.org video about Swiss rape law. Please share this video with your contacts who are also interested in women's issues. Amnesty International statistics state that 22% of Swiss women have been victims of sexual violence. 10% of Swiss women were raped, but only 8% reported it, and less than 10% of the accused rapists are found guilty. So out of 1,000 rapes, less than 8 rapists were convicted. So of the 4 million Swiss women, 400,000 have been raped, but only 32,000 reported rapes resulted in less than 3,200 convictions. Out of 400,000 rapes, 3,200 convictions. It is not surprising that in Switzerland rape is referred to as a quasi-punishable offense. This reveals staggeringly high levels of rape and sexual violence against women, but also shockingly low levels of reporting and convicting. This should be a wake-up call for Swiss authorities and spur the urgent reform of Switzerland's antiquated rape laws. Swiss law still defines rape as a low crime or misdemeanor, not a high crime or felony. Switzerland is the only developed nation where rape is still not a felony. Swiss law does not define rape on the basis of lack of consent. Instead, it uses a definition based on whether physical violence, threat, or coercion are involved. Rape convictions in Sweden increased 75% since Sweden changed the legal definition of rape to sex without consent. Swiss prosecutors still have to prove the use of threat or violence of coercion. But there is a new Swiss bill that was designed to prosecute rape, but unfortunately makes it easier for rapists to avoid conviction by victim blaming that the victim provoked the rape. The new Swiss Bill 3, Federal Act on a Revision of the Sexual Offences Act, still categorizes rape, even of children, only as a minor crime, with the same punishment as theft. The aim of the bill is not to fundamentally reform sexual crime, but rather to make selective changes which will not lead to the sweeping macro-level changes that Swiss females require. The minimum penalty of 1 year for those cases in which children under the age of 12 downgrades minor cases of sexual assault to a misdemeanor. Child rape is prosecuted is only a minor low crime, but it should be a high crime as it leads to lifelong psychological damages. Due to Bill 3, in the future, allegedly provocative victim behavior could be used as arguments to convince the courts of the existence of a minor case. Claiming rape victims, even children, were provoking the rape is victim blaming, made worse by this new law. So this new provision could prove to be a gateway for victim blaming defense strategies. Blaming a victim for the perceived way she dresses, speaks, acts, or even where she is when, should not be a way for rapists to avoid conviction. The new definition of sexual assault is intended to respond to the criticism voiced in doctrine, practice, and politics, and at the same time to bring Swiss sexual criminal law into line with the requirements of international law. A reform of the Swiss sexual criminal law is urgently needed. In addition to the difficulty of providing evidence of rape under existing law, is also the factor that makes prosecution impossible in some cases. Under current law, defendants can sometimes knowingly disregard a clear no without incurring criminal liability for rape or sexual assault. This is because if the victim does not offer physical resistance that is supposedly reasonable. The assertion in the new law is that no one tolerates a sexual assault without a prior act of coercion, Something happens between saying no and the sexual act that is nevertheless carried out does not reflect the reality for many victims. A reform of Swiss sexual criminal law would reinforce these victims' instinctive perceptions and ultimately lead them to file more charges. The new Swiss law is a small step, but not in the right direction, as proposed solutions are still inadequate. First, the law is decidedly against the concept of sexual assault as a separate offense. With the introduction of a new separate offense, a so-called two-crime model, distinguishing between genuine rape and sex without consent, to be inconsistent. The proposed penalty is up to 3 years or a fine, which qualifies rape as a misdemeanor. The significantly lower penalty implies that the majority of the wrong in rape is the act of coercion and not the violation of sexual self-determination. This is not correct. This should be reflected in a range of punishment for the basic offense. Theft and robbery are classified as misdemeanors. Rape is also just a misdemeanor. The fact that rape is classified in the same category as unauthorized entry of a business is grossly disproportionate. Swiss criminal law on sexual offenses must be adapted to today's international social values, especially the range of punishments. Jackson Katz, the American co-author of Mentors in Violence Prevention, whose video has been viewed 5 million times, states that real ambition is required, and we need to take a broader view of the problem and call it what it is, and identify violence against females as a national threat. It must be classified officially as such, like terrorism or organized crime are. And we need national level strategies and properly resourced prevention programs. If you are experienced in law and can donate your time and advice, we would very much appreciate your input. MORK.org is a Swiss charitable association for women's interests, including victims of violence, equal opportunity in work and law, reproductive rights access, the environment. To make your Swiss tax-deductible donation or donate your time or legal professional advice, please contact us. Thank you for viewing.